Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a joke. I believe that SoFi has a real potential to pass 1 million new members in Q3 of 2025, way ahead of my earlier prediction that it was going to happen by Q1 of 2026. Now, this is not some random prediction just shot in the dark. We have a viewer on the channel who actually works for Sensor Tower, and they ended up sharing me a report on SoFi stock and how much they potentially are getting downloads from both Android and Apple. Okay. So they get these data, which is trusted by some of the largest brands in the world, to help identify which companies are growing, which ones are seeing more daily active users, monthly users, daily downloads, all of this different data. So I received a raw file of SoFi Sensor Tower data, which looked, after I cleaned it all up, just looks like this. On a per day-to-day basis, you can see all of the downloads just going from Q1 of 2022 all the way to Q4 of 2025. We can extrapolate out the amount of days in each quarter, which was also given to us by Sensor Tower, when they are looking at each quarter, the daily average downloads, and then the downloads per quarter. We can then end up seeing the quarter-over-quarter percent changes and year-over-year. But look at a couple things that we're immediately starting to see. Aside from a quarter over quarter of 24% back in Q3 of 2023, the second highest level that we ever saw was in Q3 of 2025. What was even faster so far, only 14 days in, is Q4 of 2025, which is the quarter that we're in right now, which is not even what they're going to show off in terms of their growth. But on year over year, we see an even more unbelievable picture. We have the full quarter of 2023 now coming at the fastest change in downloads that they've ever seen in company history, even ahead of Q3 of 2023, which was a 67% change. This is now a 69.8% change in their total downloads. We're talking insane numbers here. And now, next quarter, we're already at an 83% change if we can keep up these growth rates for the remaining days. However, as you can see in Q2 of 2025, we got 1 million downloads. That does not translate to the amount of new members that we ended up seeing last quarter. So there's a potential that people might switch from one phone to another. They end up re-downloading an app, but yet they're not a new user. So there can be some difference in conversion rates between what a download is to what a new member is. So in order to see that trend line, I wanted to correlate what the downloads were to the new members are. Okay. So if I take a look here, I'm looking at new members and then the downloads per quarter. And actually, interestingly enough, the conversion rate was actually higher than 1% in the early stages, which means potentially people had downloaded the app, but they weren't actually creating accounts. There could be some additional just off on the number of downloads in these quarters as well. Sensor Tower data only grabs a cohort and then tries to extrapolate out. So there can be a little bit of miss on the accuracy, but we still see a trend where the conversion rate started really high and now has slowly started to come down. Okay. But even at the bottom here, we're somewhere hanging around the lines of 95% to 81% at the lowest. If I go ahead and take 85%, which is just slightly higher than what we saw last quarter, that actually brings us to 1.02 million new members. If I want to suggest that potentially we even break to the lowest conversion rate that we've ever seen, and that this statistic is only getting lower and lower, we could already be at 966,000 new members based on total downloads by suggesting that they will have the lowest conversion rate that we've ever seen in history. If we look at the other times where they have shot down below what they've usually seen, so like a 94% conversion rate down to 85%, they've actually recovered back to 93%. Then they did 94%, back to 95%. So it's not just a constant stream lower, there's actually a lot of bounces off the bottom. Because we went from 90% down to 81, it actually suggests to me a little bit that Sensor Tower data is going to adjust a little bit on their download numbers to potentially suggest something along the lines of 85%. So my prediction now, even though you can keep this at a low percentage, let's just suggest that there's a high probability that we get over 950,000 new members. There is definitely a chance that we see over 1 million new members in Q3 based off Sensor Tower data coming in nearly 20% higher, 17% higher than it was quarter over quarter. This is an insane statistic and way more important than what you're going to see on website traffic. Website traffic is only showing off a very tiny cohort of SoFi's overall business. This is showing the main core, mobile users. And the fact that we're already potentially seeing an additional 187,000 new members in 14 days on SoFi as of Q4, it's just mind-blowing how much they are pushing into full sales and marketing right now. I mean, they are really pushing growth. And to me, that spells loan platform business expansion. I've been saying this a lot. Sales and marketing is going to explode. And with that is going to also explode average revenue per user in total originations. But that's it. Quick and clear. I just wanted to say thank you to the person that ended up sharing this data with me. You really empowered a retail investor like myself to get the data that institutions have already had. And it just goes to show why I'm so bullish and think that this is the best setup going into an earnings results that we've ever seen from SoFi.